And thank you all for your testimony. It was very enlightening, and I hope that the staff from the commission or yourself paying close attention, because apparently we have two sets of witnesses here, one from the commission and one from the witnesses that are on the ground dealing with the lack of enforcement and a level playing field. So Dr. Hazel, you spoke in your testimony that the healthcare marketplace has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. And it was exactly in 1996 when the statement of the DOJ FTC statement of healthcare antitrust policy was last updated. As a physician, how have you seen the medical marketplace change in the past 12 years, and how should enforcement policies of the DOJ and FTC be updated to reflect those changes?
Boy, how do you begin with a question like that? We've changed in so many ways, but I think pertinent to this committee, a couple of things have happened, as I pointed out in the testimony. Number one is that the insurers have grown larger and they have consolidated, and you can begin to see evidence in places such as New Jersey where some of that happens. Premiums actually go up instead of down, and there is evidence out there. I can present the committee with evidence about the market consolidation. We have seen that physicians have gone from being in a fairly strong position over the years to a fairly weak position in terms of negotiating on behalf of patients and making medical decisions and appealing concerns and complaints through processes. So we need the ability to have contractual discussions with plans. But even more, if you look at what I believe we all think now and recognize are the issues of the healthcare costs, we need to look at how health information technology can help us as a tool. We need to look at the quality improvement initiatives, and those take a critical mass of physicians to actually be effective. Could you imagine being the first one to buy a fax machine? Somebody was, but without others involved in it, it wasn't particularly useful. So in order to do that, and to make it effective, we have to have the ability for physicians to organize together and deal with insurers around the issues of health information technology and quality improvement.
Mr. McLeod, I know you mentioned that you deal with small businesses, but can you comment about the statement made by Dr. Hazel that there has been 400 mergers and only 3 antitrust cases that have been brought up? How does that compare to previous commission?
Well, the mergers, as I believe the chairman of the commission mentioned in the insurance industry, are monitored by the antitrust division. However, I have seen some of the material that the American Medical Association has provided the commission, and some of the concentration numbers that the AMA has pointed out are numbers that would be giving the antitrust authorities some cause for further concern and consideration. A very important point to make, and this actually is part of my entry barrier test. I believe the American Medical Association makes a very good point when it notes that the antitrust enforcement against physicians should take into account the fact that if a few physicians or a group of physicians gets together to accomplish some objective efficiently, but it is not creating any barrier to entry to other physicians, that should not raise serious antitrust concerns. There is a very good opportunity, I think, here for a little balancing of the playing field when it comes to looking at the physician combinations. Under the antitrust laws, it's sometimes forgotten in the drive always to find a lower price for a service or a lower price for a good. The antitrust laws protect the sellers into a marketplace as well as the buyers from a marketplace. And the same economic implications, the same inefficiencies and the same distortions occur if prices are suppressed to a level where we see sellers leaving a marketplace or sellers simply refusing or finding it impossible economically to provide their services. That is a very important part of what I heard from the American Medical Association, and I think that is a very worthwhile aspect for the antitrust agencies to consider.
I'm interested to hear from you. What do you make about the fact that FTC refused to sign the Justice Department's recent report on monopoly policy? So it's a clear indication that there is a split between the agencies. As a former bureau director at the FTC, have you ever seen this kind of disagreement before? And will this split lead to an inconsistent antitrust enforcement policy between the agencies?
That is a very ironic and timely question, Madam Chairwoman, because when I started at the Federal Trade Commission, something very similar happened back in 1982 when the Antitrust Division first issued its merger guidelines, and the guidelines were issued before the Federal Trade Commission had the chance to work out every potential disagreement that it might have over the substance of the guidelines. In the end, the agencies both were able to converge their enforcement policies and philosophies, and I expect we'll see something of the same thing here. I don't expect to see different enforcement policies coming out of the agencies with respect to single-firm conduct. However, it is pretty clear that over the last few years there has been more activity at the Federal Trade Commission with respect to non-merger and non-price-fixing behavior than there has been at the Department of Justice, and I think the FTC is still the primary source for that kind of enforcement.
Thank you. I will come back in the second round, so let me recognize Mr.